You know, I always knew that John Boyega was our guy. He was with the real fans. He knew what he wanted and what we wanted from Star Wars sequels. And now he's pulling no punches. Now he's definitely showing us that he is with the fans because he just trashed the Star Wars sequels. And he trashed everything Rian Johnson basically did. So we have Mark Hamill just a couple of weeks ago talking about it. Now we have John Boyega. Everybody is trashing The Last Jedi, rightfully so, because it was a mess together with The Rise of Skywalker. So recently he was interviewed by the Popverse, and he went on to talk about not only The Last Jedi, but also about other things that he would change and what does he want to see from future Star Wars, and it will shock you, honestly. So John Boyega was asked by a fan. Mind you, this is why I said he is with us. And I knew this way back when he started complaining while working in The Rise of Skywalker. Now afterward, we know that he is with us. So the fan asked him during a panel that what he would do differently if he was in charge of remaking the Star Wars sequels. So first of all, John Boyega said, I would not get rid of Han Solo. I would not get rid of Luke Skywalker. All of these people. We're not doing that. The first thing we're going to do is fulfill their story, fulfill their legacy. We're going to make a good moment of handing on the baton. Naturally, of course, what he is referencing here is that nobody really realizes how much J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, more specifically, bungled everything. But do you realize that on the silver screen that we saw the Star Wars sequels, we didn't have a single reunion between the three people that we started the original trilogy with? Han Solo, Luke, and Leia were never together at the same time. I mean, heck, if you want to go specific, I mean, even Luke Skywalker and Leia were at the same place at the same time. It was just a projection. So our legacy characters that started Star Wars were not together, not even once during the entire sequel trilogy. By The Rise of Skywalker, everybody had practically died. Then John Boyega added another sentence. He said Luke Skywalker wouldn't be disappearing on a rock. Hell no. Standing there and he's like a projector, question mark. I would want to give those actors way more. So naturally what he's trying to say is that give the respect that was due to Luke Skywalker. Luke just died as an old hermit going up against Ben Solo in a projection form. It's just not Luke Skywalker. The Last Jedi pretty much ruined Luke Skywalker as a character. Then The Rise of Skywalker ruined Darth Vader and Palpatine, ruined Vader's sacrifice. Palpatine is somehow back. The sequels did a number on the original trilogy, and I seriously doubt that anybody who takes the sequel trilogy seriously or anybody who's seen them will see the original trilogy the same way, because the original trilogy can never be seen with the same eyes. Come on. Naturally, John went on to say that he wanted much more from his character Finn, wanted much more from Rey and Poe. He originally thought that he was going to be a Force sensitive. This is what The Force Awakens, him wielding, a lightsaber and all that. This is what he thought it was leading to, but of course, as we see in The Rise of Skywalker and of course in The Last Jedi, his character is basically just an afterthought. He doesn't do anything meaningful in the next two movies. So they did him pretty dirty, and he's rightfully pissed, of course. Outside of the sequel trilogy, he also said that he wants a Star Wars story in the future with elements of the Old Republic and The Force Unleashed if he could expand the Star Wars lore. So in Popverse, he said, I'd look to the Old Republic stories and see what we can add to the continuation of that. I would definitely want to see Force Unleashed stories in there. I would love to try to expand the Star Wars universe as much as possible while respecting the lore. If we're expanding the lore, we have to do it within the respective boundaries that stay true. So, I mean, even previous actors of Star Wars want Old Republic stories and The Force Unleashed. Sam Witwer, pack your bags, baby, because somehow, someway, I feel like Starkiller is supposed to return. This wasn't the only complaint by an actor. Of course, we have the main enchilada. We have Mark Hamill complaining as well. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's true. In a recent interview, Mark Hamill just dissed Rian Johnson quietly. Man, oh man, I'm so gratified that we are not the crazy ones that hate the sequel trilogy, especially The Last Jedi, which decisively kind of ruined Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill has always hinted something about Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. The love for them that he has literally said that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are the best thing for Star Wars right now in a recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter.
Hello there.
Hello there, my guys. Welcome to Star Wars Comics, where today we're going to discuss, of course, the infamous Mark Hamill, who is back in the news. In this interview, the guy not only destroyed The Last Jedi, but put Rian Johnson on notice. So let's go immediately into the interview interview, and we're going to talk later about what does this all mean. So it's this article from the Hollywood Reporter. It literally just came out yesterday, and he talks about his whole career, of course, his voiceover thing, but eventually we come, of course, to Star Wars. Now here's exactly what Mark Hamill said, and you will notice as he's speaking, he's very, very detailed as to what he says. So the interviewer kind of went on asking about the de-aged version of Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, which Mark Hamill, of course, took part in, even in the Book of Boba Fett episode with Luke and Grogu, and Mark, of course, doesn't disappoint with his answer. He says, "The reason I did The Mandalorian was that Luke had a beginning and an end, but there was no middle. It was like making a trilogy about James Bond as a young boy who first became aware of the Secret Service and wanted to be part of it. Part 2 was him training to be an agent," meaning he's talking about, of course, Empire Strikes Back is Part 2, and Part 3 is earning his license to kill, the end. So the end of the original trilogy. No From Russia with Love, Dr. No, or Goldfinger, you never got to see Luke as a master Jedi at the peak of his powers. He was the most idealistic character in that series. Listen to what he says here. I'm just going to pause for a second. He said he was the most idealistic character about Luke Skywalker. This is a direct hint at what his gripe was, what he hated about The Last Jedi, is that Luke was kind of shown to be a depressing hermit who wasn't the original Luke Skywalker we grew up with. So, of course, Mark Hamill continues. He said he was someone who would take adversity and double down and come back and counter his setbacks. He continues, "We didn't see any of that. So when I got the chance, I thought, geez, this is wonderful. I think Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, boy, do they get Star Wars. They get it. They're speaking the same language that George did in a way that I questioned in the sequels." I mean, holy smokes, this is just coming right off the press. Red hot. Mark Hamill completely annihilated not only Rian Johnson. Did you hear what he said in the ending here? He said that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni understand, similar to George, they understand Star Wars, which is the thing I questioned in the sequels. So he completely dismantled the sequel trilogy together with Rian Johnson, which The Last Jedi was the movie that he was involved with the most. The Force Awakens, he only appeared at the end, and The Last Jedi, he just had a cameo as a Force ghost. So he's mostly speaking, when he says sequels, he's bashing the whole sequel trilogy, but he's bashing mostly The Last Jedi and Rian Johnson and how he questioned his leadership. So here you go, fans. We're not the crazy ones anymore. You can't go in the comments and tell me that you hate Star Wars and you hate the new Star Wars. We don't. Here you have Luke Skywalker himself. Here you have Mark Hamill coming out and telling us that the sequels sucked, and that now, at the hands of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni with The Mandalorian and Grogu, I really hope that that movie hits the stride and hits at least $1 billion, because I know that right now Star Wars and Marvel are not at their peak. So $1 billion. Imagine Mandalorian and Grogu crushing Fantastic Four and Superman, even getting into DC territory. Imagine Mandalorian and Grogu crushing those movies in the box office. That would solidify Star Wars as being back, and I think it would solidify the fact that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, with the endorsement of Mark Hamill, Star Wars is back, and it would signal to the board of Disney and CEO Bob Iger that Kathleen Kennedy's time is over. It should be Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau that should take the president mantle at Lucasfilm. There is no doubt already in anybody's mind, and even Mark Hamill coming out and saying this shows a lot. This is why we've constantly hammered down in my videos. I've made so many videos talking about where is young Luke Skywalker? Where is the Jedi Master that we know and love, that we've read in the books, in the comics, in legends, in canon? Luke Skywalker only appears in paper form. We've never seen Luke in the silver screen. We've talked about 3D animated version of Luke Skywalker post Return of the Jedi. Anything that would give us a visual representation, a TV show, a series, a movie, anything that shows what Luke Skywalker really became after Return of the Jedi. This way, I hate the fact that Mark Hamill could realistically die. He is up there in age. He is in his 70s. Mark Hamill could die and not watch Luke Skywalker be the true Jedi that even Mark Hamill envisioned him to be.